Nope, let me back up a little bit more.
When he's,
Right here.
right there, yeah.
They've watched the movie so many times.
You want to see your Gigi dance?
She can dance.
They know exactly where to find the scenes that make them laugh and the ones that make them cry. Tyler Perry's film The 6888 is History Meets Hollywood, bringing global attention to a true story many had never heard of until now.
I am Captain Charity Adams. Welcome to the Women's Army Corps.
But for the 3 generations of family members you see here, this film represents a family matriarch and the more than 800 women of color she served with during World War II, finally getting the recognition they deserve.
It's just still surreal that it's all happening. Oh, I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled it's gotten the recognition that it has.
I am so glad that the world is starting to know the history of the 6888 and to know the history of my mother as well, as far as what she did.
Their mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother is Elizabeth Bernice Barker Johnson, a North Carolinian with ties to the Piedmont who served in the 6888 Central Postal Directory Battalion, the only black and women of color U.S. Women's Army Corps unit deployed overseas in World War II. Actress Kylie Jefferson portrays her in the Netflix film under a slightly different character name of Bernice Baker.
The one dancing right there, she's portraying Gigi. I think she did an awesome job. And now that I know that my mother liked the jitterbug, it just makes it that much more special to see that.
From lighthearted moments like those to the ones that can be tough to watch, they appreciate how the film is reaching a new audience and highlighting how these women had to complete what seemed like an impossible assignment once in England. Get years' worth of backlog mail back on track for soldiers and their families. An extremely complicated task they were given just 6 months to complete. I interviewed Ms. Johnson about this in 2019.
We had mail stacked up. It was pitiful. And I said, I just can't believe this. Some of the soldiers said they had not received mail for 6 months. And it was because they kept moving them from one place to another, or it was improperly dressed, or they didn't have the serial number on it.
They worked in less than favorable conditions.
The ship ride over, my mother talked about that, how rough it was. When they got to King Edward's School, that was a mess. That was true.
Yet the women remained diligent, strategizing to work in 3 8-hour shifts 7 days a week.
Sometimes we work as late as 11, 12 o'clock at night, but we had to get it done.
And they did, sorting more than 17 million pieces of mail, not in 6 months, but in 3. And that's not including the years of backlogged mail they got on track in less than 6 months in France.
It was hard. I'm not going to tell anybody it was easy. It was not. But I said the people out there on the front line, they're having a harder time than we are. And sometimes we could even hear those bombs falling.
It was work worthy of a hero's welcome home.
And I'm not bragging, but I feel like I did a good job. If you could have seen that mail room, all the mail backed up for the number of years it had been backed up.
They were sent there to fail, and they proved them wrong.
But a celebration didn't happen. Instead, they went on with their lives, many rarely mentioning their major accomplishment in service to their country.
She's like the other ladies. They did not talk about being in the war. I was probably in middle school, and I found a box that had her medals in it. And I asked her, I said, what are these? Where did you get these?
I didn't really know much until I was about to join the military, and she said, oh, I was in the Army.
One thing they always knew is the high value Ms. Johnson and her family placed on a quality education, something that had its limits for the Elkin native, where Cynthia says black children could only go to the 8th grade. Ms. Johnson's parents sent her and her sister to Winston-Salem.
They both graduated from Atkins High School.
The military allowed Ms. Johnson to serve her country and get the education she yearned for.
That was the one thing that my mother really wanted to do, was to get her college education and to go on to be a teacher. I mean, that was just embedded in her. And I think once she got that GI money, and I knew she was not going to let it go to waste.
Ms. Johnson put her education to use in several places in the Piedmont, including at Patrick Central School in Stuart, Virginia, where she taught and drove a school bus. She also taught in Surry and Wilkes counties across her more than 30-year career. Her daughter says she was the first African-American teacher in Elkins City Schools. Teaching in the segregated South brought its share of racism.
You know, there were white children that mistreated her. The superintendent mistreated her. And so to go from serving your country and doing this wonderful thing to being treated like you're so low, yeah, she did talk about it.
It wasn't until Ms. Johnson was in her late 90s the family started to see public recognition for her service. In 2018, she was one of only 5 women of the battalion honored at the dedication ceremonies for the monument in Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, including getting the parade they never had, organized by the 6888 Monument Committee.
Thank you for your service.
Then in 2019, 70 years after graduating from what was then Winston-Salem Teachers College, she walked across the stage at Winston-Salem State University's graduation at the age of 99.
Her graduation, when that went pretty much worldwide, and people were seeing it on social media, and then they were contacting me like, I did not know, I had your mother as a teacher. I did not know she was a World War II veteran. She never talked about it.
That was the same year she received the Audie Murphy Award in Washington, D.C. at the American Valor, A Salute to Our Heroes event. Sadly, Ms. Johnson did not live to see Tyler Perry's film. She passed away in 2020 at 100 years old. But her family is thankful for the many ways her legacy lives on. They've established the private first-class Elizabeth Bernice Barker Johnson Foundation, which will allow them to provide educational scholarships to several deserving children. Tiffany, one of Ms. Johnson's 3 grandchildren, is also a veteran, having served in the U.S. Navy.
She did inspire me to join the military.
And Ms. Johnson did live to meet her great-granddaughter, Elizabeth.
I think she was even still surprised that she was like, wait, you named her after me? I'm like, yes, she is. Yes, she is going to carry on your name. I was like, you are a strong woman, and if she just has even just an ounce of your strength, she will still be in great company.
The movie had more than 50 million views in its first 4 weeks of streaming. And for the millions more views from around the world, people will see the real-life Bernice Barker before it ends. It's still emotional.
Very much so. And I think it really touched me. When they were walking through in the soldier, he said, "Hey, you're the 6888," and it was like, then it finally hit them. Hey, these are some awesome women. Look what they've done, and they deserved to be saluted.
For me, I know I definitely shed some tears, because she is no longer with us. It was just nice to see her face again, and just knowing that the amount of people that have watched the movie, they're Googling her now. So they're now seeing her stories. Old YouTube videos from 5-6 years ago, those are now getting popular again because her picture was shown at the end of the movie. So it's really nice just to know that even though she is no longer here, she is not being forgotten at all.